As I film these, so I should get a stopwatch or something. All right, the next one is Autobiography. So this is a book written about oneself. So a lot of autobiographies these days aren't necessarily like quote-unquote pure autobiographies. They have help. They have another writer or two or three kind of help with the autobiography. That's not necessarily the case for biography, oddly enough. I think there's a bit of the most prestigious is kind of, in my experience and the regard around these kind of books, the most prestigious is biography. That's kind of why I started with it, because it means somebody wants to write about you. Or a lot of people want to write about you. Versus autobiography, some of the ones I've read, they kind of, let's just say the person already has a reputation for being a controlling individual, and then they write a book about oneself, and it just reaffirms that, and I'm like, should have had somebody else write it. Right? Because but I mean, it gets that authenticity right about them being a controlling person, but it doesn't mean I learn anything new about them, kind of thing. So this is an example of an autobiography. It's about Edgar, an autobiography about Edgar Martínez with Larry Stone. I live in Seattle. The Seattle Mariners are our baseball team. He played for the Seattle Mariners. So yeah, it's Larry Stone writes for the Seattle Times. I read his columns on sports. So this is kind of and I keep reading the articles, so I like the writing, so at least one of them I kind of have in the writing I'm hoping will be okay. He also did a special on, so Seattle's by Mount St. Helens. It's not far from Mount St. Helens. He wrote a special in 2020 on the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption. Yeah, and so that's just for the 40th anniversary of the eruption. So that's an autobiography. It's really simple. I'd say we're living in a time where autobiography is the trend for living individuals over biography. That has not always been the case. In my lifetime, this has emerged as the trend. Like when I was really young, biographies were a thing, and then it switched when I was about 10, so like 2002, plus or minus a few years, it started to switch to autobiography, kind of all over the place. And so biography is not as trendy. Well, not as trendy. There's still biographies. It's just autobiographies have become a trend, kind of thing. I don't know if that means, I think partially it's about people getting to have their own voice. I would say the only caution about this is a lot of it comes across as promotional puffery. And what do I mean by that? It's people writing about their highlights of their career, or like if somebody has movies or music albums or something, it's like talking about those in a way, and just like from one to the next kind of thing, plus awards, and it's just kind of like, where's the soul? I don't biographies tend to do better at, well, I like this person because of blank, but this person might not have chosen to write it about themselves. So I personally find biographies to be a little bit more enlightening about who the person is, just on the whole. And then the last one, oh, and this one has a forward. Well, forward by Ken Griffey Junior. The next one is Memoir. So biography and autobiography, I forgot this. Both autobiography and biography are about a person's entire life. Memoir is not. So this is about a segment of a person's life. Of a person's life. And it can be written by the person themselves or by somebody else. So it could be either biography or autobiography, except for it's shorter than each of those. So that's how it's not a biography or autobiography. An example of a memoir is In the Water They Can't See You Cry, a memoir by Amanda Beard with Rebecca Paley. It's about a swimmer, a female swimmer, breaststroker, from like the 90s and early 2000s. So that's a memoir. It is that simple. What is the, okay, how could I, like, let's say I want to write a biography, but what if people really like the biography? So I'm going to do a nautical analogy because my family used to have a boat. My grandpa was in the United States Navy. My other grandpa was in the United States Navy Reserves. My grandpa, who was a fighter pilot in the U.S. Navy, he was a swimmer and a lifeguard. I was a swimmer and a lifeguard. My uncle was in the United States Marine Corps. We had a boat growing up. Nautical is just kind of a thing. My dad would go to Alaska and go fishing with his dad, and they'd get salmon and bring it back, and we'd have fresh salmon and smoked salmon and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do an analogy of a captain's wheel, like the wheel on a ship. I'm not going to do a little thing attaching it to the deck, so I guess this is like a ghost wheel. So this is the inner circle. This is like the biography. Let's say I write a biography. Let's say I write a biography about Lydia Jacoby. Let's say people are really interested in the Alaska, and is where she from really a fisherman's angle, really a fish, like, is it really a fishing village? Is that something that's come up in her life? Well, that's the external ring. So this is like a wheel. So this is like the feedback once a biography is written. So this is the biography to memoir business model. And you know, there's the 3 streets over, 5 blocks down. Somebody knows somebody has gone to Alaska to work in the fishing industry, slinging around salmon in a cannery for a summer. Just like, there's Alaska connections in this area that are culturally, and so there's that kind of thing, and then there's the Alaskans who came to the area and joined the swim team. There's like kind of thing. So there's like kind of grounds for me like being like, well, this is something I'm interested in. I guess I'm saying the biography to memoir from the biographer perspective. If I'm interested in it and have background enough for there to be something, so there's like a little spoke that goes out like this, where I'm interested and have some life experience where I have some other form of grounding that I can understand fishing culture. My grandpa was a huge fisher, both of them. Anyway, point being, but not like working in the fishing industry, and he was harbor master. He was so like very big marina theme, nautical theme in my family. So I'm like, okay, let's say something turns out to be true, and there was a period of Lydia Jacoby's life where the fishing industry played a big role, and there are people who are interested in that. Well, then the spoke gets made, and this spoke is a book. So it's a spoke on a wheel, and this is the biography, and this is an individual memoir. Now let's say people are interested in her first international competition, which was something called the United States Open, U.S. Open Championships. It's an interesting scenario and perhaps perfect for a memoir, depending on what the biography, so the subject, Lydia Jacoby would want, the biographer, and the audience. She won a silver medal, but she was the fastest American, so she won the national title, but not the gold medal, which is very interesting. If somebody wants a memoir about what it means to represent one's country in international competition, there's the U.S. Open memoir, the 2020 U.S. Open memoir. So it's that kind of thing. Like, a biography does not have to be an end point. It could be a beginning point, kind of thing. And then more stories like that emerge. And especially with a case like Lydia Jacoby, part of why I chose this, she's 17 years old, but she already has these interesting spokes, if you will, on a captain's wheel of there's other things that could be expanded upon, potentially. Depends on the story and how media is and stuff like that, and how the story developed and that kind of thing, and what it meant to the person. If it doesn't really have any meaning, then that might not be a fit, kind of thing. And so and it's a unique perspective. Somebody who wins only gold won't ever have that unique perspective that she has of what it means to represent her country in international competition and win the national title, but not the gold medal at a U.S. Open Championships. So, like, It's the unique, not gold perspective. But then she also won a gold medal at Olympic Games. So then that's like, there's a progression here that is unique to her. And so that's part of why I picked her. It's interesting. Well, and that was part of why I picked her. Also, these spokes might be things that haven't happened yet, right? Once a biography is written, she keeps aging. She competes in something or has a life change. There's something that has a big meaning and people are interested in. It's a different spoke kind of thing. And so these are things that might not even exist when the biography is written, because she's only, let's say the biography got finished, and even if she was like 40 years old, that's still young. The person's still alive, right? So memoirs can be a way of filling in pieces after a biography is written, and then another biography could be written down the road. But that's kind of a business model. Is things can be filled out from the past, but they can also be added from things that haven't happened when the biography is published. So that's kind of breaking down 3 different things.